With me today is the smallest SUV in Audi's lineup, and that is this brand new 2020 Audi Q3. Now, the second generation have improved vastly over the first generation, starting with the exterior looks, the inside cabin, the spaciousness, tech features, safety features, engine, transmission, and a whole lot more. So in this review video, I'm going to tell you everything there is to know about this Q3 and rank it among its peers so you guys can decide if this is the right SUV for you. Stay tuned. I want to give a big shout out to Audi in Westmont for making this video possible. If you're in the market for a brand new or used Audi, then make sure you check out this dealership. Their URL is on the screen and in the description below. First, let's take a look at the exterior of this Q3, which is now very sleek and modern and matches the rest of Audi's lineup. The front end has a huge octagon grille paired along with aggressive style bumper and large edgy headlights. The lower premium trim only gets partial LED treatment for headlights, while the upper premium plus and prestige trims get the full LED treatment. Now, moving on to the side, because the second gen Q3 is now almost 4 inches longer and about 1.5 inches taller, the Q3 profile now looks more like a proper SUV rather than a hatchback. All the body panels are painted, and you have this nice aluminum trim that surrounds the windows, which matches the aluminum roof rail. On the S-Line trims, you get 19-inch alloy wheels, which you see here, versus the standard 18-inch wheels. On the Prestige trim, 20-inch optional wheels are available. Now, moving on to the back side, the Q3 has a wide and athletic look, which complements the rest of the car. Interesting enough, there's no chrome pieces anywhere. The taillights are full LED no matter what trim you choose, and unfortunately there's no chrome exhaust tips available with any trims. Speaking of trims, there are 3 major trims to the Q3. They are Premium, Premium Plus, and finally the Prestige. No worry about adding Quattro all-wheel drive because it is now standard on all trim levels. With Premium and Premium Plus, you can choose to add on the S-Line package, which adds on 19-inch alloy wheels and some exterior changes. Even with the lowest premium trim, which starts under $35,000, you get dual screens, which I'm going to show you in a little bit, 18-inch alloy wheels, panoramic sunroof, LED taillights, rear parking sensors, and Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Premium Plus adds on heated mirrors and seats, power tailgate, wireless charging, and more safety features such as side assist, rear cross-traffic alert, and lane departure warning. The Prestige comes with larger screens including the massive 12.3-inch virtual cockpit, premium sound system, adaptive cruise control, a 360 camera system, and finally LED interior lighting. All trims come with a turbo i4 engine pushing out 228 horsepower and 258 pound-feet of torque. It is mated to an 8-speed automatic transmission, and Quattro all-wheel drive is standard. 0 to 60 comes in at 7 seconds. Due to the increased length, the Q3 actually has a decent amount of trunk space. As you can see here, nice and wide and deep. On top, you do have a hanging privacy cover which can be removed. On the right side, you have a small cubby hole for anything you want to throw in there. On the left side, you have a cubby hole with a 12V outlet and a cargo net. Now, the cover on the bottom when open reveals the spare tire and tools. However, Audi designed the cover so that it could sit in a lower position, which frees up about another 3 inches of space, sort of. Now, I'm not sure what the purpose is. You could just simply have the cover like this all the time. By raising it or lowering it 3 inches doesn't really change things much, but it is there available for you to choose. The second row of this Q3 certainly is impressive. So let's talk about the space, comforts, and amenities. With the space, that is probably the most impressive thing back here because there's so much room. This is a subcompact luxury SUV, so you would think this is cramped, very small, but that's not the case at all. With the second generation, the Q3 grew about 4 inches in length. You could definitely feel it because it is actually very spacious back here. I'm 5'10", and there's at least a good 4 inches of legroom left. So that's a lot. And same thing with the headroom. Probably more than 4 inches of headroom. And speaking of space, if you want to generate more cargo room, you can slide these seats. You can slide it forward and backwards. You really don't see this much in this class, and I love that. So you can slide it forward and backwards, and the seat backs also, you pull over here, you can lean forward, you can lean all the way down, or lean it back. And now you're in a very comfortable position where you could take a nap. Now, there's plenty of space. What about comforts? Well, it's very comfortable back here. I love these seats. They're firm yet supportive, and they feel good. Now, this Q3 I'm testing has the sport interior package, which adds a few things. The steering wheel and paddle shifting, silver inlays, and these special leather seats. They have their own design, and they look really good. They look really sporty, but overall, it's very, very comfortable. I love the feel of these seats. Now, what about amenities? Well, there's a lot. Take a look at this panoramic sunroof that goes all the way, unfortunately not all the way to the back, but it's still very big and it lets a lot of light in. And I'm assuming this doesn't go all the way to the back, probably because Audi wants to have more headroom back here. But you still have that. And then down here you get a pair of vents, you get 2 USB ports, and also a 12V outlet. Now, moving on to the front, these seats, much like the rear, they have a very sporty look. I'll let you guys know how it feels once I start driving. Moving on to the door panel, take a look at this orange Alcantara insert in the door, and it flows into the dash. I love that. With the sport interior package, you can choose if you want orange to pop out, which would really match the exterior color, but this definitely adds a lot of pop and contrast, and I really love it. And take a look, you do see that aluminum trim that flows into the door handle. Overall, that is a really elegant design. I do like that a lot. And take a look how it flows into the giant infotainment screen. And I'm going to talk about that in a little bit, but take a look at how it flows into over here. This whole design is very modern. And take a look, moving down, you got climate control, you got start stop button. This is for volume. You got a couple buttons, a traditional shifter, which is nice. You got cup holders, armrest, and take a look at the virtual cockpit. That is one giant 12.3-inch screen, and I'm going to talk more about that pretty soon. And take a look at the steering wheel. Let's start with the infotainment system. Now, this is equipped with a navigation system, which upgrades both screens. So you have this screen, obviously, and then you have the virtual cockpit. Now, this is a 10.1-inch screen, and this is 12.3-inch screen. Now, if you didn't have the navigation package, this would be a smaller 8.8-inch screen, but still, it's relatively big. You could see how nice this looks, but of course, you do see some glare, right? So depending on how much light you have shining on it, that might be a little bit of an issue. But this is touchscreen, and everything is super responsive. It is really, really quick. As you can see, there is no lag whatsoever. Radio, media, phone, navigation, all that stuff. Of course, if you didn't want navigation, you can utilize Apple CarPlay, Android Auto. That is definitely not a problem. So that's what this is. You do have Wi-Fi in here as well, and it just works like your phone. It's really convenient in terms of, wherever you want to go. It's actually very convenient to find, and everything is super responsive, so you definitely don't have any issues with this. And in terms of backup camera, if I go into reverse, you can see it is actually really large. It is high resolution with grid lines, and you can check your surrounding. This is not a 360 view, but this is kind of like a 360 sensor view. It'll let you know what's ahead of you and what's behind you, so that's really nice. Now, moving on for infotainment, climate control, pretty self-explanatory. You got dual climate zones, you got some manual buttons, you do have heated seats, you do not have ventilated seats, unfortunately, but this is pretty easy to understand. Now, down here, unfortunately, you got a lot of plastic here. I wish there was something here other than just nothingness, but you do have the start engine stop button here and volume control. Now, you can control the volume on the steering wheel over here, but you could also control it here. That takes getting used to. Now down here, there's a couple buttons. This is for hill descent if you need that. This is for turning on and off the parking sensor, hazard light. This is the engine auto start stop. So if you're at a stoplight, if you want your engine to turn off to save gas, that is what it's used for. If you don't want that, turn that off. This is for traction control, and this is drive select. You could select off-road, comfort, auto, dynamic, just matters what you're in the mood for. Now down here you do have wireless charging. This is pretty big for your phone. You have a USB-C port, a USB port. That's nice. Now over here you do have a manual shifter, which is always nice. A lot of manufacturers try to do electronic buttons or some kind of digital setup, rotational knob or something. This is just pretty standard, and that's what I like. And if you want to go into manual shifting, basically go into drive and then go over, and that's it. And this is equipped with paddle shifter, so I'm going to test out to see how that is. I'm moving here. This is for the parking brake, another 12V outlet over here, 2 cup holders, and the center armrest. This is kind of small and kind of low, so some of the cars I've driven, it's much higher, feels a little bit more comfortable. This is a little bit low, and if you open that up, that's pretty much it. There's nothing in there other than just some space for your things. Now moving on to this, the virtual cockpit. This is one huge screen that basically takes up the whole gauge cluster, and you can control everything through here. Now Audi has no heads-up display in this Q3 because they said it's redundant because everything is here. So of course you can see your tach, your miles per hour. Those are standard. In the middle you get a whole lot of information. Right now it's on the radio, but you can view other things. Here's a note. Here's navigation for wherever you're going, right? There's a whole bunch of things that you can adjust. You could see, you could even zoom in and zoom out. That's pretty cool. And also, take a look. If you hit this view buttons over here, right, you could have a huge map. So your tach and miles per hour goes down significantly. Now, you could see a whole lot more. That is really, really cool. That's why they call it the virtual cockpit. Now, you could also look at other things, fuel consumption, your radio, telephone, and navigation. So you could see all that, and you could change your view, basically, however you want it. That's really, really cool. Now, all that I showed you guys is controlled through here. There's not that many buttons. You can scroll left or right, your view, and this is to zoom in and out. And over here, this is for telephone, volume, and you have a favorites button. So if you click that, take a look. You can choose a number of different things. You want voice guidance off, day-night map, switch to traffic report. So basically, you can select what you want this button to be. That's kind of cool. Now overall, the steering wheel looks very modern, very sleek. I like this look, and the leather feels good. It's not too thick, so overall, no complaints. Over here, you just have your light control, which is kind of unique. You just press it, auto, off, or on, and then this is for all weather lights on or off. You can see pretty standard. The trunk control is down there. This is for window control and mirror control. Unfortunately, there's no memory seats. And up here, you have some controls for the lighting and also the huge panoramic sunroof, which I love. I love panoramic sunroofs because they let so much light in. It makes it seem like it's so airy, and I love that. And it comes standard on all the trim levels. All right, let's go for a drive and see how this Q3 is on the roads. Now, first impression is, this definitely doesn't feel like a subcompact SUV. It feels more like a regular compact SUV. It feels very spacious. I don't feel cramped. And that's the thing. I think the first generation Q3 was a little bit too small. That's why a lot of buyers didn't flock to it. But this second generation, this feels very much like a lot of the compact SUVs that I've tested, which is very spacious, very airy, and that's what I feel like. I don't feel cramped one bit. Suspension is a little bit on the stiff side. It could be the combination of these wheels. These are 19-inch wheels on this trim. But combination of that and suspension, I do feel the imperfections and bumps a bit more. even on a relatively smooth road, I could feel it. But let me see how this Q3 handles the corners. Maybe it was done on purpose. Alright, so I just got up to 60. It's not spirited, it's not fast by any means, but it's adequate. This 228 horsepower turbo engine did its job. So in terms of driving position, I like it. I think this is a really good driving position. It's not the highest SUV off the ground, but you could definitely notice it that you're not in a sedan. I like this position. It feels very airy in here. Plenty of visibility. Front windshield, side windows are very big. Now in terms of the rear, I feel like, first of all, the rear view mirror is a tad small, and the window itself is a bit narrow, and the middle headrest does get in the way if you raise it up. What's amazing about this Q3 is how well appointed and how luxurious it is. I mean, as I'm driving down the road, I'm looking at this virtual cockpit, I'm looking at the steering wheel, this infotainment system, and the dash. I mean, this is one good looking cabin. It's modern, it's sleek, it's luxurious, and you got all the features that you're looking for. And the Q3 starts, the base trim starts at around $35,000. Now, in terms of quietness, it's not as quiet as I expected it to be. I do hear some road noise, and I do hear some of the noise from outside, like the passing cars and so forth. So it's not the quietest SUV. Now, these seats definitely hold me in. Now, I showed you how sporty they look. The bolsters on the side, they stick out a lot, but in a good way, because it is nice and wide, so I don't feel like it's jammed into my back. It's actually on the side of my back and actually holding me in, although I feel like I'm kind of sweating a little bit, so that's where ventilated seats would really come in. But they do hold me really well, and even the bottom cushion, it is holding me well. It's not super narrow. So some of the other cars I've driven with sports seats, they make it too narrow, and I feel like for most people that's just too small, but not in here. These seats actually really hold me in, and I like that feel. Now that I'm in dynamic mode, I could definitely feel the revs hold a bit higher before it shifts. Now in terms of steering, I feel no difference. It still feels very light, and take a look, you still had that play in the steering wheel, which I am not a fan of. So unfortunately for steering, it doesn't do much. The brakes feel good. When I come to a stop, there's nothing unexpected. The Q3 stops when expected. There's a good feel to it. It's not twitchy or anything like that. So the brakes feel good. As I'm sitting here waiting for traffic, I'm looking at some of the things you could change for light and visibility. You could change exterior lighting, automatic headlights, entry, exit lighting, daytime running lights, interior lighting, how bright things are, rain sensor, whether or not you want that on or off. There's a lot of cool stuff. Driver assistance, some of the safety things, speed warning, traffic light information, Audi Presense, which is for basically auto braking, side assist, whether or not there's someone next to you, lane departure warning, parking aid, that's all the parking sensors. So there's a lot that you could control in here. Next, let's look at the good and bad to this brand new Q3. Starting with the good, it has a modern exterior look. It is one of the best in this class. It has a beautiful and sleek cabin. The infotainment system and virtual cockpit are amazing. There is a ton of space, especially for this class. There's lots of standard features and a great starting price. And finally, you get comfortable and adjustable seats in both rows. Now, as for the bad, unfortunately, there's also a few. The Q3 has vague and light steering feel with some play in the steering wheel. There's slight road and wind noise at high speeds. The suspension is a tad stiff. There's a slight lag that can be felt after shifting with hard acceleration. The fuel economy trails its rivals. And finally, some safety features is not available in the base trim. Overall, this brand new Q3 is a great subcompact luxury SUV. and I'm giving it an overall score of 89. And if you want to see how this Q3 ranks among its peers, then check out driversonlyrankings.com. Thanks for watching, guys. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and check out some of these other videos.